Hello, guys and girls, and welcome back. If you made it this far, you should be approximately in the middle of our Godot 4 tutorial. In today's video, we'll be working on a boss fight. Let's get ready for a new type of enemy ship. Okay, let's open Blender, and this time we'll be working on a modular spaceship, but instead of creating individual modules and assembling them, we will create the whole ship and then cut it down. Okay, so let's select everything, A, X and delete, Shift A, Mesh, and let's add a UV sphere. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger, S and scale. And you want to create a flying saucer, so S, Z, and do this. Okay, very well, this is the basic shape. Now we want to create something like a cap here. So we switch to edit mode, select faces, and now click elsewhere to deselect and click drag to select this part. E to extrude a little bit, click, E to extrude again, S to scale, and 0 to make a tip. Okay, that could be basically enough for the ship's body. Let's proceed with the cannons. I'll press tab to get back to the object mode, and we need a new object. Shift A, mesh, cylinder. Alright, let's press 3 for the side view, and we need to rotate it as usual. Press R, Ctrl, and rotate. This is it. S to scale down, and SY to extend it a little bit. This is fine. Now we want to activate the move gizmo again and move it outside the ship so we can model the cannon individually. Let's take a look. Okay, tab, edit mode. Let's press Ctrl R for some loop cuts. Okay, decorations. Now we will use extrude and Y in only this direction. Click. Let's switch to face select, zoom it a little bit, and alt click to select these rings. Shift alt click, shift alt click, shift alt click. That's too much. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and alt E to extrude along normals. Okay, this is fine. Let's call it a decoration. It's not necessary to do anything more complicated. Now we'll select the front face, E to extrude, click, E to extrude again, and S to scale to create some kind of a cannon nozzle. Now I to insert, and E to extrude, make it inside. Alright, let's say the cannon is finished. Maybe it's still too big, so let's go back to object mode and scale it down. Okay, and we'll move it inside the ship's body. That's correct. And of course we want to have more than one cannon. We'll create 4 cannons at 4 sides of the ship. Let me show you how to easily duplicate the cannon we already have here. So let's switch to the top view, and now are we in object mode? Yes, we will select the cannon and press dot to select to put the 3D cursor, to put the rotation pivot to 3D cursor. Okay, now we can use the usual R, Control, and do this. Okay, did we forget something? Of course, we forgot to duplicate it first, so let's do it. Control Shift, Escape, and now again R and rotating. This is the first copy, and let's make it twice more time. Control D to duplicate, Escape, and R, Control third one, and once more Shift D, Escape, R, and rotating. Perfect. Let's do the separation of ship parts, but before we do that, let's give the existing parts proper names. So cylinder 1, we'll call it gun 1, this one gun 2, gun 3, gun 4. It will be very useful in Godot when we define shots from this gun in the level script, and it's easier to refer to guns by these shorter names. And the sphere, let's call it body. Very well. Now, separation of the body. So we will press numpad 3 for the side view again. Let's zoom it a little bit. Switch to edit mode and press Alt Z or click this button for an X-ray view. Let's make sure that select mode is set to face select. It is, which is great. And now we can drag the mouse to separate something. So let's do it here. Bottom part. Perfect. Now, how can we make a separated part out of this selection? It's very easy. Let's press P and separate by selection. Here we go. We got body 001, which is only the bottom part of the original body. Let's proceed with creating more parts. For instance, we want to separate a cap, so let's select it, and as before, press P, selection. We got one more part. Now we can change the camera view and do something about the top part, but first we would like to hide everything else. So which part is top? Yeah, it's the original body, I suppose. So we can just click these eyes here to hide everything else. And now again, let's select something. Looks too regular. I want something like this. This is perfect. P by selection, and it's there. Okay, let's put the view back of the rest. I think we can work with this. Of course, if we want to make more parts to create a more interesting debris after the boss ship is destroyed, feel free to continue with this process. We can turn off the X-ray view right now, and let's save the project. Let's remain the new parts we have here. So this one looks like the bottom. This is the cap, and this is probably part of the top one. Okay, now before we proceed, it's likely that some of these parts newly created are not fully closed because there would be holes. We can keep them as it is because we will see these holes only as a part of the debris, which is barely illuminated. But if for some reason you want to close these holes, let me show how you can easily do that. So let's say we'll do it for cap. We will just hide everything else to get a clear view. And now the cap is here, it's selected. Let's take a look at this. Move the camera a little bit, and we will switch to vertex selection. Okay, click here. Is it there? No, I suppose not. Let's try it again. Cap and edit mode. Now this is correct, and we'll click alt click here to some vertex, and the whole circle is selected, and now we simply press F and it is closed. Okay, we can continue and do the usual workflow. First, let's put these eyes back, and now we can just export the ship we have here. File, export, and GLTF 2.0. Let's find a folder and let's call it boss. Okay. We didn't use any modifiers, I suppose, so we can simply click export GLTF, and that should be everything we want to do in Blender. Let's switch to Godot and find the models folder, and let's see where do we have it here. Boss GLB, drag it to models and right click, new inherited scene. Let's see how it looks. looks exactly as we expected. There are no materials yet, so of course we need to assign them. And I suppose we can do a bit more than just put metallic everywhere like we did with the missiles. Let's open the material maker and find another metallic thing. File, load material from website. Let's put metal again. And I think that I saw something, yeah, this simple rusted metal. It will look cool. Again, let's go here and change the resolution, the size of the final texture to this, and file, export material, Godot, and Godot for standard. Let's put it here to downloads again and name it rusty metal. Save. Okay, maybe we can do one more. So let's open it again and find something that looks like a gold. Gold. Yeah, bumpy gold, that would be great. Let's open it, change the resolution, and export material for Godot, Godot for standard, gold. Very well. Let's close material maker, discard changes, and now we will import these new materials into Godot. Let's find the materials folder, there it is, and open the Explorer, and we have gold and rusty metal. Let's select all of that and move it here. Okay, both materials have been imported. Now of course we need to change the boss to area 3D as usual. Area 3D, we will add the collision shape later. Now let's try to decorate it a little bit. So I would start with the cap, which I already planned to be golden. Let's drag the gold material here. Not bad. And the cannons would be probably metallic like we did before. Let's give them the metallic material. Nice. And now the rest. Body and with control bottom and top one. Yeah, that should be everything. Let's expand it here and drag the rusty metal. Now, that's something, isn't it? Okay, we have an original ship, maybe just a too wild combination of metals, but I think it will look pretty good with our illumination. What we need to do now is to add the collision shape, so let's right click the root node, add child node, collision shape 3D, and we can give it a sphere, I suppose, again. Sphere shape, and click, and make it 5 meters. Too much. 3 meters. That's better. But maybe too much. 2.5. Yeah, this is about right. And we can later add more collision shapes for cannons. For now, let's just keep it as it is. Very well. What else? Of course, we need to add the boss object to the proper you know what, groups, of course. So it will be a new group called boss, and this is definitely metallic. Let's make it here. And modules. Great, let's switch to signals. Okay, sorry for the interruption. I forgot to save the scene as boss, so the signal wasn't in the previous version of the video correctly connected. Now it should be fine. So we assigned the enemy GD script, and now when we switch to signals node, we must select the root node first. Node signals, let's click area entered, and it is correctly connected to enemy GD. Very well. Yeah, this is what I created by mistake. Let's just get rid of it. close. And we can, I think it should be somewhere here. Yeah, delete it. Sorry about that. All right, and save the boss. And even if this enemy is a boss, it's still an enemy, so we need to add it to the enemy group as well, so the layers and masks work correctly. Speaking of that, we should set them as well, and we'll use the typical layers and mask for enemies. So collision is 2, mask is 3. Very well, let's save it. And in this part, we aim to create more devastating projectiles than ordinary bullets. Because we have big cannons, they shouldn't just shoot these white pencils. Let's design shiny torpedoes specifically intended to be launched from the heavy cannons. We can model them as simple spheres with an appropriate material, preferably with high emission properties, so it would shine and be easily visible. This approach will effectively simulate the desired effect of the torpedoes, and this time we will do everything in Godot. Before we create the cannonball, I mean a torpedo ball, let's find an original material for that. So let's open Material Maker again and file a new material from website, and I think I saw something like this one here. It might be a little bit organic, so it's not a typical material for big shots, but I think it will look cool anyway. Let's change it as we do and export. There it is. Godot for standard, and let's call it Torpedo for now. Yeah, close the Material Maker, and we will drag it to the materials folder. There it is, and here we have the material files. Let's drag them here. It should be there. Torpedo, yeah, looks orange. Great. Now let's find the folder scenes and right click, create new scene. Let's set 3D scene and call it Torpedo. We will change the root node to area 3D as we always do. There we go. And we will right click again, add a child node, mesh instance 3D. There it is. Because we don't have any model to import now, we will create it ourselves here in Godot. In Inspector there is a property mesh. Let's click it and create sphere mesh and click the mesh. There is a property material. This time we don't need to overwrite anything because there is no material yet. Let's just drag the orange material here. Okay. Looks more like an alien planet than a torpedo shot, but who cares? And right click the root node one more time, add child node, and of course we need a collision shape 3D. There it is. Let's open it into 3D editor, and the collision shape, we will assign it a new sphere shape, and by default it is the same dimensions as the sphere we created, so it's not necessary to do anything about that. Now we need to add the root node to the correct layer and mask for collisions. So it's 4 and mask is 5, and we will add it to the group the same as we do with the shots fired by alien ships. I think it was UFO bullet add. Okay, but of course the torpedo should be more powerful than just a simple bullet. So we'll set its hit points properly. First we need to assign the script. I think the script was where it is, UFO bullet here. Okay, click it again and we have hit points here. So let's give it 50. I think that our shield power is 100, so one hit would just cut it to half, 2 hits would destroy the shield completely, and 4 hits would destroy us completely. So we must be sure not to be hit by this torpedo too often. And we'll press Ctrl S to save the scene. Now, considering that the boss fight is expected to be more time consuming than defeating just regular enemies, it's important to incorporate the boss's status, including its hull integrity and shield power, into the heads-up display scene. To achieve that, let's switch to heads-up display. I wonder where it is. Too many scenes here, so let's delete some of them. Ah, there we go. No, yeah, here. Okay, 2D. And the easiest way to do that is just duplicate this element, Ctrl D. Let's call it boss. All right. Zoom out a little bit to see the whole screen, and now we will simply change the layout here and make it not top left but top right. There we go. This is perfect. And now, of course, we need to adjust the script to handle the changes in these values and update the corresponding display accordingly. This modification will allow players to monitor the boss's status during the encounter. Let's drag these new variables here to the already var section. So this time it would be boss's hull integrity, Ctrl release, and let's give it this prefix, and the shield power as well, Ctrl release, boss. Okay, and of course we need to create a function set boss values. Let's just copy and paste this one, rename it set boss values, and this time of course we need to select the proper elements, boss, and of course this. By the way, I think that in the enemy class we will add a function instead of just property, because we'll be taking the current hull integrity and shield power from the life cycle script. So we will just do this boss get hull integrity and boss get shield power. Okay, and yes, boss should be here, of course. Okay, I think this is everything we need in this kind of script. Of course, if we just execute the game, this would throw an error because the function doesn't exist yet, but we will add it briefly. In fact, there is one more thing we can do in this script. It's clear that you don't want to show this boss section all the time. It should be displayed only when the boss ship enters the scene, and after its destruction it should be removed. So let's prepare these two functions. Func show boss section, and we will simply first we will make reference to this section here. Okay, boss, and we will simply do boss visible is true, and now in the same way let's make the height boss section, and click height. Fine. Now we'll switch to the lifecycle GD because some new signals and other functionality must be implemented. For example, we have this signal when enemy is destroyed, but we don't know, we are not notified about its spawning. Let's do it. So in this way we can detect that the boss section should be displayed. Enemy spawned, and again source node. Now in the function init, we will connect this signal. Let's just copy paste. What was the signal? Enemy spawned. And we will call it, of course, on enemy spawned, this function. Let me just put it here to keep the order. Okay, and in the function process, we need to send this signal exactly at the start. So we just make it at the beginning if elapsed time is 0. Let's send the signal. Enemy spawned, emit, enemy. Very well. Let's switch to main GD and save it. And now we already have a reference to heads-up display here. So at the game start, we will simply hide the boss section. Hide boss section. And now we need to create a callback to on enemy spawned. Let's get back and copy that. There it is. And let's get forward. Add it to the end. Func on enemy spawned. Enemy is a parameter. If enemy is in group boss, because that's what we are interested in. As for regular enemies, we won't be displaying anything else. HUD show boss section. Okay. And of course, when the enemy is destroyed, we should hide the boss section. So we will find it here in this ready function and go to on enemy destroyed. There it is. And again, if enemy is in group boss, those arrows, hide boss section. Surely we don't want just to show and hide this section, we need to update it with a new value. And this happens when the enemy is hit. So let's find on show hit effect and let's add this if enemy is in group. Looks like I should replace this line with some specific function, not to write it each time over and over. HUD, what was that? Set boss values, and the parameter is enemy. Now we need to improve the lifecycle and enemy scripts so they correctly return the current values of hull integrity and shield power of the enemy. Let's start with the lifecycle, and we should have what we should have. Yeah, we have max hit points. Let's do the same for shield power. Var max shield power is 1. I did this because we'll be doing some dividing, and just to avoid accidental dividing by 0, another failsafe. And var shield power power is 0. Okay, now we need to activate the shield power in the init function. So just like we do it for hit points, this is optional. Only at this moment only the boss would have a shield. So if spawn has shield power, let's assign it. Shield power is spawn shield power, and max shield power is the initial value. Okay, and the function process hit, we will need to process this. So value, I think it can be, it will be replaced by a code very similar to one we have for the player. So yes, let's delete this and do this. Var value is area hit points, and now if shield power is positive, let's decrease it. Value, and if it dropped below 0 or just to 0, we need to deduct the rest from the hull integrity. So we will just assign value is negative the rest of the shield power. And let's make another check now. If shield power is less or equal to 0, hit points should be decreased. Value. Okay. And now we are sending this event, which will be caught in the main script and do all proper changes. And of course, why we did it in the first place, we need to add the missing function. So func get hull integrity, and we want to return a percentage. So return hit points multiplied by 100 and divided by max hit points. And let's do the same for the shield power. Copy, paste, get shield power, and return shield power and max shield power. Yeah, this is the place when we wanted to have the default value 1, not 0, because enemies that don't have the shield would just return divided by 0 error here. Alright, switch to enemy. There it is. And we need to add similar functions here. Let's do it in this place. Func get hull integrity. This is basically an adapter. We're just passing the call to the lower layer. Return life cycle, and this function get hull integrity, and now shield power. Get shield power, and these two functions are actually called from the HUD script when each time the progress bar should be updated. Return life cycle, get shield power. Alright, and finally we need to add the boss to the tutorial script. So let's switch to this script. There it is, and as usual we will start with new scenes. So var boss scene equals, and the scene is here, boss tscn, okay, control drag, and the torpedo, of course. Var torpedo scene is torpedo, torpedo, torpedo. There it is. Okay, and we will add the boss wave to the timeline. So let's do it. I copy paste, and let's say 6 seconds after the game starts, we will call get boss wave. Okay, the function doesn't exist. Let's add it here. Func get boss wave, and again we can do a copy paste and then modify the parts that need to be modified. Here it goes. So enemy is boss scene. Now hit points. 20 is definitely not enough. Let's give it 500 to make the fight more interesting. And we have a new field, shield power. Shield power 500 as well. Okay, it seems like without the power up to activate side weapons, the boss would be invulnerable almost, but we'll see in the action. Coordinates, nothing should be random here. There is only one boss, so we will just start it in the middle of the in the middle of the X coordinate, and let's spawn it on the top and give it some tolerance so it will just appear inside the screen. Scale, yeah, I think the boss needs to be scaled up a little bit. Let's do it 4 times. Alright, direction, it will just go down and not that fast because we need some time to destroy it. So let's give it this speed and rotation. It has 4 cannons, so we want it to rotate and fire these cannons in different directions. Instead of 0, we will add 0, now 0.5 and 0. Very slow rotation. Alright, and timeline, of course, boss will shoot something, so we need to define these events in the timeline. Get boss timeline. Alright, let's create this function. Func get boss timeline. And now there will be more events than just one, so we will do it in a cycle var events. This is exactly the reason why we don't define these levels in some static file but in the script, so we can save a lot of work and some boilerplate code if we take advantage of cycles, random numbers and other things. Okay, so let's var events and we will return this array. Events. Okay, and now we need to fill it. So let's say the boss will fire 5 times along its lifetime, and it has 4 cannons, so 4j in 4. And this is the time we will add the events. So events append this structure. First, as usual, timestamp. Timestamp would be, let's say 10, so it doesn't start shooting instantly but after 10 seconds. Plus I plus 1, I starts at 0, so no, it starts at 1, I think. Doesn't matter. And multiplied by 2 and fire. Another structure. Shot, we define the scene for the shot, which is in this case torpedo. And weapon, because in this case we have 4 weapons and we want to fire them all. So it would be gun and plus the index str j plus 1. Yeah. Alright, yeah, actually index starts at 0, of course. Sorry for the confusion. So it will go through gun 1, gun 2, gun 3 and gun 4. And that should be everything. And there is one more thing we forgot to do. Do you know what we omitted? Yeah, there are no weapons defined at the boss scene. Let's fix that. Right click, add child node, node 3D, call it weapons. Right click, child node, node 3D, there is no weapon main at this moment. Let's call it gun 1 and right click, add child node, node 3D, direction, and let's position it correctly. So we'll use the top view. And which gun is gun 1? Yeah, this one. So we will position the gun 1 node right here. And let's check the transform. Yeah, -4. This will be easy to copy and paste. And direction, of course, that should be the x -1, I suppose. Yeah, this is right. Now we will make 3 copies of this gun node. Control D, 1, 2, 3. And let's set the other guns. Gun 2 is this one. So we need to change the transform. This would be 0 and this would be 4. And the direction, of course, is not -1 at Z, but +1 here. Gun 3, let's verify. Yeah, it's the bottom one. So the transform coordinates would be 4. And the direction, again, 1. Very well. And the last one, this is the left one. Let's click it, transform coordinates. So it is, I suppose, no. 0 and x is -4. Yeah. And the direction would be 0 here and -1 here. Great. Okay. And one last thing, when we copied the wave from the missile wave, we forgot to remove the target field, which doesn't make sense here because the boss will rotate and won't follow the player's ship. Let's delete it, and now we can try the game. Missiles. And boss appears on the top. Let's hope we will get the power up soon. There it is. We can try to destroy it. Good job. And heads-up display of the boss disappeared correctly. Very well. I would say we are finished here. Okay, so it seems that the boss wasn't too powerful, and we will improve that later. Considering this, we should give the player the opportunity to acquire additional firepower. So in the next video, we'll introduce explosive missiles in the player's arsenals, and we'll also optimize a lot of things to make the game run smoothly on different environments. See you next time.